Belated Christmas greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you've had a merry Yuletide full of beer and cheesy old Christmas films. Yes, I know I've already missed Christmas Day, but as long as I get this video finished by 12th night, then it's still technically the Christmas period. Now, for a Christmas present, my niece gave me a copy of Sonic X Shadow Generations, and despite the title sounding like a yaoi fanfiction, I've actually heard good things about the new content, so I thought I'd review it and share the joy with everyone. After all, it's a season of goodwill and peace on Earth, so I thought I'd review a game where you play as an unstable bioweapon with a chip on his shoulder. The gameplay remains similar to Sonic Generations, but with the open world elements of Sonic Frontiers. If you like Sonic Generations, you like Shadow Generations. It's that simple. As simple as going to the toilet. Actually, it might be easier than that, since I've actually come across some poor unfortunate lavatories and pubs used by adults who somehow managed to make it into their 40s without being potty trained. Seriously, how do you manage to get all that stuff all over the walls?
There's the pan, there's your arse, park your arse on the pan, shit. It's that simple.
The game starts by answering the question wailed by all of Shadow's fanboys when the original Sonic Generations released, which was, "Boah, why isn't Shadow at the party? My favourite character should be included in everything. Worst Sonic game ever. Boah." It's because he's working and one of the few Sonic characters to actually have a 9-to-5 job. Rouge calls to try and get him to let his quills down, but his duty as a badass lone wolf edgelord comes first.
There's free food.
Look at his wide eyes. Even badass lone wolf edgelords can't resist cake. However, there is no time, as Shadow encounters the Eye of Black Doom, which when I say it like that sounds like a fitting name for a Yu-Gi-Oh card. So, Black Doom is back, now voiced by Ben Diskin, the current voice of Mega Man.
Doctor, what's going on? Stand back, everyone. I'll handle this.
He also voiced Eddie Brock in the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon, which is fitting since most of the Doom powers look eerily similar to the Venom symbiote. At the end of the chase, Shadow finds the fake emerald that Tails made in Sonic Adventure 2. After admiring the craftsmanship, the Ark is hit by the effects of a time eater. Now that Shadow's in white space, the game begins proper. We later reach the next stage, Rail Canyon from Sonic Heroes, a level that perfectly encapsulates Sonic Team's obsession with grind rails. But I am grateful for Sonic Team for resisting the urge to include Casino Park. This may just be an opinion, but it's my opinion, making it factual, but pinball levels in Sonic games are always crap. They take control away from the player, they slow the pace of the game, and are generally more frustrating than fun. Rail Canyon, at least, was remade well. Using the L and R triggers to switch between rails is much easier than using the joystick and hoping that you don't overshoot the jump. So, with 2 zones under our belt, it's now time to fight the boss, right? Wrong! Incorrect! Before we can fight the boss, we have to find the boss keys, which we find in white space, but we can only claim the boss keys after completing 2 corresponding challenge gates. This is an aspect of the game that I'm not so keen on. Instead of an impressive boss fight and moving on to an exciting new level, you have to revisit the stages that you've already done, but with a bonus objective, like defeating a target number of enemies or meeting a quota of rings. To me, this feels like a big interruption of the flow of gameplay. Now, ironically, the reason Sonic Team got rid of the Chow Gardens from the first Sonic Adventure games is because they didn't want to interrupt the flow. So, a popular but completely optional sub-game that can be skipped entirely ruins the flow of the main game, but forced stage missions are perfectly acceptable. Even in the first Sonic Adventure, you had to find things to access the next stage, like a key or a switch, but they at least worked from a narrative viewpoint and they didn't take you out of the immersion for too long. Nonetheless, I got the boss keys and we can fight my first boss, the Bio-Lizard from Sonic Adventure 2. After showing the prototype who the true Ultimate Lifeform is, and that the youngest child is always the best child, we return to white space. And when Black Doom has finished boasting about how brilliant his latest evil scheme is, we unlock another new power. The ability to summon an alien manta ray that can carry us across the water. So, who would win the surfing contest? Shadow or Pikachu? Now it's on to Kingdom Valley from the infamous Sonic 06. This stage stands out to me as a display of the development team's handiwork. They took a stage from the absolute worst thing to bear the name Sonic the Hedgehog, and I say this knowing that Sonic Underground exists, and turned one of its levels into something that's actually fun. And if that wasn't enough, we then go on to Sunset Heights from Sonic Forces, another universally disliked Sonic game, and they still made a fun stage from it. once we finish Sunset Heights, we see Maria being harassed by Black Doom's minions. Shadow is triggered and does what he should have done to the gun soldiers 50 years ago. Maria is now voiced by Stephanie Shea. A good choice. She brings a lot of sweetness and childish energy to the role. She had previously voiced Xena in Sonic Lost World, but her other credits include Orihime in Bleach, Hinata in the Naruto franchise, and the title character in the Viz dub of Sailor Moon. You know, that princess who lived on that celestial body that her cousin Ivo blew up. Professor Gerald also has a very familiar sounding voice.
I believe so, yes.
It's almost as if he and Eggman are two characters in a movie played by the same actor.
Oh, come on, that joke was just as cringe when Jim Carrey did it in the film.
You're not Jim Carrey! After the cutscene, it's off to find more boss keys to face the next boss, Metal Overlord from Sonic Heroes. He calls Shadow a fake when he's literally a robot modelled after Sonic. Then we get another cutscene with the Robotniks. Professor Gerald reveals that Black Doom's plan is to revive himself by possessing Shadow's body.
Do you know what that makes you, Black Doom? A 12-year-old fanfiction author using Shadow as your self-insert.
I know, because I've actually been guilty of that myself. Then you get the Doom Morph power-up, which lets you climb up slimy walls and swing from floating blobs like Spider-Man. After using it to access Chaos Island, we get a surprise encounter with a familiar face, who's mistaken Shadow for the Sonic Adventure 2 boss. Shadow's outdated choice of words doesn't help matters. It's basically a big homage to Sonic Adventure 2, complete with the hedgehogs passing each other. Wait, who's Sonic grinning at? And who is Shadow glaring at? I would have thought that breaking the fourth wall was beneath you, Shadow. Sadly, this fight is only a cutscene rather than a proper boss fight. I know it seems like a missed opportunity, but from a narrative perspective, I at least understand why. Sonic canonically wins the fight, and Ian Flynn didn't want to contradict canon events, much to the approval of Miguel O'Hara. And it does show a better part of Shadow's character. He could have used his new Doom powers to get the upper hand, but simply chooses not to. Destroying Black Doom is one thing, but he will never cheat against Sonic.
Even a starving eagle never steals. Like my father always said, never cheat even during a struggle.
After going through more challenge gates and getting more boss keys, we do get to fight another hedgehog, Mephiles the Dark, now voiced by Robbie Daymond. An interesting choice, considering that I mostly know him from voicing Joe in Digimon Adventure Tri, Tuxedo Mask in the Viz dub of Sailor Moon, and Spider-Man. Though I will admit, he does do a good job with the voice. It's just that I'm still used to Mephiles sounding like he's telling you to believe in the heart of the cards. I actually died a lot in this boss fight. The reason being that the Doom Morph is needed to reach Mephiles in order to hit him, and the Doom Morph is harder to control than it looks. It feels slippery, almost like you're on ice, and going fast on ice never ends well, be it on foot or especially when driving a car. Sonic says. Now we're in the home stretch. Shadow is out for blood, when Maria tries to defuse the situation.
Shadow, no!
Maria?
It breaks my heart to see you so full of anger. This isn't who you are.
Really? Because he's been moody ever since Sonic Adventure 2. Even in the flashbacks, he always has this dark cloud over his head. But she also reminds him why he's called Shadow. As in the comics written by Ian Flynn, it's because
without light, there's only darkness. But a shadow will show you where to find the light. Do you understand?
Actually, we just thought the name Shadow sound badass. Yes, it seems Sonic's team isn't quite as poetic as Maria, or the late Terry Pratchett. And then we get the final and greatest power-up in the game, the Doom Wings, which is also a badass name, sort of like what Rick Mayall once named his parrot.
Thunderwing Doomslayer.
This power-up is the game's equivalent to a supersonic transformation. When you have 50 rings, you can morph into Thunderwing Doomslayer, in which you grow wings and can glide across the screen. So now that you can get up to the Doom Moon, we're on to the final stage, Radical Highway. Ironically, Shadow's first playable level in a Sonic game. It is to Shadow what the Green Hill Zone is to Sonic, bringing everything full circle. Now, the main difference to the original level from Sonic Adventure 2 is the inclusion of flying segments to incorporate Thunderwing Doom Slayer! And after this, it's the final showdown with Black Doom. You chase him through a warped city that gives off a major No Way Home feel, and use all the tricks you've accumulated throughout the game, including some platforming with the Doom Morph, using it to swing. Now I know for a fact that it's based on No Way Home. Black Doom eventually succumbs to the power of Thunderwing Doom Slayer! And we can enjoy the ending, in which Shadow has to lose his family all over again. Shadow even proposes freezing time, thus lowering himself to the level of the final boss from Sonic and the Black Knight, but Maria reminds him that there's no point in a world that's frozen forever. She knows that she'll see Shadow again, and she'll always be with him. In a way, Maria is almost like Shadow's guardian angel. Shadow jets off to cheer Sonic on in the final battle against the Time Eater, as something wet splats onto Rouge's face. "Stop turning everything dirty, will you?" So, that's Shadow Generations. Overall, it's a pretty short playthrough. I finished it in just over 4 hours. But it's 4 hours well spent. The gameplay is solid, in spite of my griping about the boss keys and challenge acts, and the story is great. I like that it allowed Shadow to be emotionally vulnerable. It might also be the only time in the games that Shadow's actually given a genuine smile, rather than that smug grin he sometimes has.
If you haven't played Sonic Generations yet, the X-Shadow version is definitely the best way to experience it. So thanks again to my nieces for gifting me this game, and the Sonic Mega Drive cartridge notepad that was a big help in writing the script for this video. Merry belated Christmas to all. Here's to a productive new year. Cheers!